Welcome to episode 57 of Gods and Heroes of Ancient Greece. My name is MyLinda, Butterworth, and today we continue with the epic tale of the Heraclidae, with the story of Demophoon. Before long, the news of fugitives in the marketplace of a foreign host, and a herald who asked that the suppliants be delivered up to him, reached the king in his palace. He himself went to the marketplace and heard from the herald's own lips the demand of Eurystheus. "I am an Argive," Copreus said to him. "The persons I wish to take with me are also Argives, and therefore under the jurisdiction of my king. You will not be so unreasonable, O son of Theseus, as to be the one and only man in all of Greece to take pity on these fugitives, for their sakes to engage in a battle with Eurystheus and his many powerful allies." Demophoon was wise and contained. To the violent speech of the herald he merely answered, "How can I hope to see this matter right or decide in favor of one or another before hearing both sides? Old man, you who are in charge of these youths, say what you can for yourself." Iolaus, to whom Demophoon had spoken, rose from the altar steps and bowed reverently before the king and replied, "Now I know indeed that I am in a free city, for here a man is permitted to speak for himself and finds a hearing. In all other places they drove away my charges and me before I could even open my mouth and speak in their behalf. The truth of our plight is this: Eurystheus was the cause of our leaving Argos. We dared not remain in his country for another hour. How can he call us his subjects and claim that we are Argives, must bow to his decrees, when he has robbed us of all our rights as subjects? If there were truth in what he said, then he who fled Argos would have to avoid all Greece as well. But heaven be thanked, not Athens. Those who dwell in this glorious city will not drive the sons of Heracles from their land. You, O king, will not permit a suppliant to be snatched from the very altar. My children, be calm. You are in a free country, and what is more, you are with your kinsmen. For know, O king, that you are not sheltering strangers. Both Theseus, your father, and Heracles, the father of these boys, were great-grandsons of Pelops, and they were bound by a tie stronger than kinship. They were comrade in arms. Heracles liberated your father from the underworld." While Iolaus was speaking, he had clasped the king's knees, taken his hand, and touched his chin. The king raised him from the ground and said, "There are 3 reasons why I should grant your plea. First, Zeus and this holy altar. Secondly, the kinship between me and your charges. And thirdly, the benefits I owe to Heracles' efforts in my father's behalf. If I allowed you to be taken from this sacred place, this land would no longer be a land of freedom, a land where virtue is practiced and the gods given their due." Then he turned to Copreus. "Herald," he commanded, "return to Mycenae and tell this to your king." "I go," said Copreus, and brandished his herald staff threateningly. "But I shall come again, and with the Argive host behind me. 10,000 shield-bearers only wait for my king to give him the sign, and he said he will lead them. He is indeed already at your borders." "Hades awaits you," said Demophoon contemptuously. "I fear neither you nor all of Argos." The herald withdrew, and now the sons of Heracles, a band of strong youths and fair boys, joyously sprang up from the altar steps, put their hands into those of their kinsman, the king of Athens, and hailed him as their rescuer. Iolaus once more spoke for them and thanked Demophoon and the Athenians with words full of grateful emotion. "Should we ever return to our home," he said, "should the children of Heracles ever be reinstated in the house of their father, they will not forget their friends, their liberators, Never will they make war on this hospitable city, but always regard her as a dear ally, with a claim on their utmost loyalty." And now King Demophoon prepared for the attack of his new enemies. He assembled his seers and bade them make solemn sacrifice. Iolaus and his charges were, he said, to be his guest in the palace. The old man declared that he did not wish to leave the altar of Zeus, and would remain to pray for the welfare of the city. "Not until, with the help of the gods, victory is yours," he said, "will we rest our weary limbs under the roof of our host." In the meantime, the king had ascended the highest tower of his palace, and looking down, gauged the strength of the approaching army. Then he gathered his men, gave orders for the defense of the city, and took counsel with the soothsayers. Iolaus and his charges were fervently supplicating the gods, when Demophoon came toward them with swift steps and his face agitated and full of sorrow. "What am I to do, my friends?" he called to them with troubled countenance. "It is true that my army is ready for the Argives, but all my seers insist that I can defeat them only on one condition, and this I cannot fulfill. Hear what the oracle has said. You can slaughter neither calf nor bullock, but a maiden of noble birth. Only then can you and your cities hope for victory. But how can this be? I myself have a daughter young and lovely as a flower, but who can expect a father to make such a sacrifice? And what other noble citizen of Athens having a daughter would deliver her up to me, even if I ventured to ask her of him? Were I to do such a thing, I should have civil war to cope with all the very time I am fighting an alien foe." The sons of Heracles listened to the doubts and fears of their protector, and their hearts sank. "Woe, woe to us," cried Iolaus. "We are like shipwrecked mariners who thought they had reached the shore, but are swept out to sea again by the ruthless storm. Why did we deceive ourselves with idle hopes and with dreams? We are lost. Demophoon will yield us up, and how can we reproach him?" But suddenly a ray of hope shone in his eyes. "Do you know, O king, what the Spirit prompts me? What can save us all? If you will only help me accomplish it, instead of the sons of Heracles, give me up to Eurystheus. It would give him pleasure to force me, the constant companion of a great hero, to die a shameful death. But I am old and would gladly sacrifice my life, my very soul, for these youth." "You have made a noble offer," Demophoon said sadly, "but it will not avail us. Do you think Eurystheus would be content to kill an old man? No, what he wants is to destroy the young and blooming sons of Heracles, to put an end to his line. If you know other counsel, speak, but what you have proposed would be useless." Macaria. So loud a clamor and cry of woe issued not only from Heraclidae, but from the citizens assembled at the marketplace, that the sound carried up to the palace. Soon after the fugitives have come, Alcmene, Heracles' mother, bowed with age and grief, and Macaria, the lovely daughter of Deianira, had borne him, had been taken there to hide them from curious eyes, and now they waited for what was to come. Alcmene was very old, and her thoughts were turned within, so that she knew nothing of what was going on in the world around her. But her grandchild listened to the sounds of lament rising from the heart of the city, and so great was her anxiety for her brothers that she forgot she was a girl who had been reared in deep seclusion, forgot she was unaccompanied, and hurried to the marketplace into the very midst of the throng. Not only Demophoon and the Athenians, but Iolaus and his charges as well were struck with the amazement when they saw her. For a while she slipped in and out among the people, and in this way learned of the danger threatening Athens and the Heraclidae, and of the sinister oracle which seemed to block the path to a happy issue. Now she came before the king, and her step was firm. "Regard me as a victim," she said. a victim which will pledge your victory, and whose death will save my poor brothers from the rage of a tyrant. You were told to kill a virgin of noble birth. Had you forgotten that the virgin daughter of the noblest mortal of Heracles dwells in your midst? I offer myself as a sacrifice, which must be all the more pleasing to the gods, since it is of my own free will. If this city is generous enough to engage in war for the sake of Heraclidae, and to give up his own sons by the hundreds, why should not one of Heracles' own descendants be ready to give her life in order to ensure the victory to such noble men? We should not be worth protecting and save if one of us do not think in this way. So take me to the place where my body is to be offered up. Wreath me as you would wreath a ewe or a hind. Brandish the blade, for my soul will rejoice to go. For a long time after the girl had spoken the last impassioned words, Iolaus and those with him were silent. At last, the leader of the Heraclidae said, Macaria, you have proved yourself worthy of your father. I exult in your courage, even while I mourn your fate. Yet it seems to me that all the daughters of the line of Heracles should come together and decide by lot which is to die for their brothers. I do not want to die by lot, said Macaria. Do not hesitate too long, or the enemy will fall upon you and the oracle in vain. Bid the women of the city come with me, lest I die seen by the eyes of men. And with a retinue of the noblest women of Athens, Macaria, steadfast and joyful, went forth to die the death she herself had willed. And here is where I end my tale for today. But I'll be back with more tales. Many more tales. Until then, my friends, enjoy the journey.